Hello, darkness, my old friend. How come to talk with you again? Ah!
Hey people, I'm Crash Thompson and welcome to my nightmare. Why am I doing this? Why are we here again? You all know I've been trying to ease off the big, ugly, negative reviews and the like. And hell, if you've been watching my channel for a hot minute, then you already know a Danzig covers album is gonna be bad news. We've been here before. We've already suffered for our sins on this one. Why are we back here again? Two reasons. One, you might actually remember a couple of years back when I reviewed Danzig's last proper album, Black Laden Crown, over on Metal Sucks. Yeah, I'll bet you forgot all about this one, didn't ya? Can't say I blame ya. Honestly, it was kind of a whatever feeling album. Not outstanding, but surprisingly decent, especially for a late period Danzig record. I don't know, that one ended up turning out a little better than I expected, so I figured, okay, Skeletons was just a fluke. He's learned his lesson by now, surely. And the second reason, well, I didn't want to write this album off necessarily because, like, this is the perfect idea on paper, isn't it? No, really, think about it. Danzig's vocal style has always been basically just Elvis, if all those religious nut jobs who were complaining about his gyrating back in the day were actually right about him being satanic. The two kind of go hand in hand in a weird way, don't they? His singing style has always been reminiscent of classic singers like Elvis and Roy Orbison, all those early guys who helped popularize rock and roll as we know it. Like, I've heard people call Danzig the devil's Elvis for basically my entire life. So for him to go out and just do a whole bunch of Elvis songs, that writes itself, right? That should work. All Glenn has to do is just basically some competent karaoke, and we've got at least an okay record on our hands here, right? Man, you'd really think so, but here's the problem. We aren't getting Danzig from his Misfits, his Sam Hain, or even his early Danzig record days. Or for that matter, even his late 90s or 2000s Danzig days. What we're getting on this record is 2020 Danzig. And 2020 Danzig is a lot like 2020 Undertaker, in that,
going for it again! No. Oh, he was looking for the tombstone pile driver! Lost a lot of blood. And now Undertaker with a choke slam to Goldberg.
They're both completely fucking spent. People, I'm sorry, but there's just not a polite way to put this. Danzig cannot sing anymore. This was starting to become a problem with him as early as Death Red Sabbath, and you could definitely hear his voice starting to break on Skeletons and Black Laden Crown. And here on this record, wow, Danzig is just, he's done. He is completely out of gas. The dude barely even croons above a mild speaking volume on this record. Really, he's just singing so quiet and so subdued throughout the whole. Not that Danzig can't do that, but think of Danzig's best moments. What are some of your favorite moments from Danzig's best material?
I can show you what I've learned.
Yeah, that stuff, none of that on this record. Absolutely nothing. Danny Boy just picked a bunch of slower, low-tempo, kind of lighter material that he could cover, mostly so he could just barely get away with singing above a whisper. He legit, like, mumbles 90% of this album. And even on the handful of songs like Fever or When It Rains, when he honestly could get away with showing us a little bit of bravado and belting something out, he doesn't. He is just barely even on this album at all. He sings like he just got out of bed and can't even be asked. Like, this sounds like Danzig prior to his first cup of coffee. And for that matter, he's still off key. Oh my god, he's so off key on this record. Like, good lord, man. His voice just breaks all over the place on this album. Worse than any other album I've ever heard him on. I think I made a joke in my old Skeletons review about how he sounded like he was going through puberty again. Tee-hee, funny joke, bad thing is bad, let's laugh because it's 2015. I think I was in that kind of mindset. But on this record, like, oh, it's not even funny anymore. It's not even funny bad. These are either like first or second takes, or Danzig's voice is literally just so blown out that he can't physically perform anymore. And either way, that's really worrying. That says something is actually wrong with the dude. That's, like, people, it's not funny bad anymore. It's like worryingly bad. Listening to this album, I couldn't help but feel like, Glenn, are you okay? Like, Danzig just completely sounds like he's past his prime on this record. I straight up need to apologize to Stone Temple Pilots for saying their recent record makes them sound like a bunch of old farts. Whoa! No. Nothing as sad as what's on this album. And that's not just because it's Elvis. I mean, hey, I've admitted I'm not the biggest Elvis fan in the world, but even I can admit that he's got a few bangers in his catalog, and a few songs which Danzig could have killed if he'd been able to pull them off effectively, but I'm sorry, he's just spent, he's gassed. Every single thing on this record, he just whiffs it, man, and he whiffs it so bad. Like I say, it's not funny anymore. You feel embarrassed for the guy. Like, Danzig, you heard this yourself, right? You heard this too? And you still decided to release, like, dude, oh. Huey Lewis is working with severe hearing problems on his last record, and even that wasn't this bad. What happened? And people, it is not just Danzig's voice either that kills this record. The instrumentation, what instrumentation? There's a sad, barely tuned piano you can barely hear pushing every melody along, a drum set that I'm almost positive is nothing but a kick and a snare. I barely heard any drum work on this, and to be honest, I'm not even sure I remember hearing a guitar on this album. If there was a guitar, it was severely muted, man. This album may not contain... It's really bad that I can't even remember if there was a guitar on this album, and to have an album that pays tribute to Elvis. Elvis? Without at least a somewhat strong guitar presence? That's a big fuck up. I'm not even an Elvis fan, and I know that's a big fuck up. And to make all of this even worse, the production on this thing, almost like with the instrumentation, I have to say, what production? Everything is mixed like hot shit, just like with Black Laden Crown. The instrumentation, all of it is shoved as far back as it can go, and Glenn's vocals are brought way too far up to the front. But given that Glenn's voice is the weakest it's ever been in his entire career, and even the instrumentation being weak and shitty to the point where even if it were good, it probably wouldn't be able to save it, like, it's salt in the wound, man. Like, a competent producer could have maybe polished over some of this, but again, all of Danzig's biggest mistakes, the things he's the least good at, are brought all the way up into the front, and anything that could save him, anything that could redeem him, is pushed aside, pushed away, so that Danzig can lazily squeak, "Here always, all my life, here always." Oh, Danny boy. Every single decision that was made on this album was the wrong one. This is that special kind of once-in-a-lifetime bad that's just a perfect storm of wrong. This is worse than Black Laden Crown. This is worse than Skeletons. This is easily the worst thing Danzig has ever put out, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here. This might be one of the worst things ever associated with Elvis. Yes, I mean that. Clam bake is better than this. 70s Elvis is better than this. And like I said, the thing that makes it sting all the worse is that it shouldn't be. This should have been an easy home run for Danzig to pull off. This should have been like the easiest record for Danzig to make in his entire career. But the man, he sounds like he physically can't perform anymore. A record that should have been a slam dunk is a slam dunk, but like on the opposite team's goal. I'm sorry, but if your record literally has me worried for your health, you're not gonna get good marks out of me. Man, this is just... Danzig sings Elvis gets 1 human radio out of 5. But what did you think? Did Danzig pay proper tribute to the king, or... Yeah, I can't even finish that sentence with a straight face. But feel free to let me know in the comments. If you like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell while you're at it. In the meantime, though, I am Crash Thompson, and I will see you lovely people in the next video.
Super special thanks to our model and Brandon Brown.